Neighborhood Information Center is proud to bring you a continuing effort of the Black Bicentennial, in which we shall interview senior citizens in Montclair. Today we have one of Montclair's most illustrious citizens, Mr. John Rudd, who has been a realtor in Montclair for the past 41 years and has resided in Montclair for 48 years. Mr. Rudd, I'd like to start off with, you are from where?
Lunenburg County, Virginia, born.
You're born in Virginia.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking beforehand, you would tell me about your grandparents who were in slavery, which I think would be of interest to many young people in Montclair. Could you tell me a few things about you?
Well, on my mother's side and my father's side, the four grandparents combined spent about over 100 years in slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And still we were able to come out and make progress.
Right. I imagine, as most grandparents do, I remember mine, I talked to them quite a bit. Some of the things they must have told you about slavery, could you give us a few stories?
Well, I mean, I don't remember my father's grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
but my mother's grandparents, I mean, we were very close. For 19 years, I saw him every day, and my grandfather, and he could tell some real stories about what happened during slavery. See?
Mm-hmm. What kind of treatment did the slave masters or the white people have with your grandfather?
Well, you know, they, as I said, you can tell that by looking at me, probably they were among the house niggers, see,
Right.
as they called them then.
Right.
So therefore, they were treated a little better than what they called the field niggers, see.
Right.
So, they, my grandmother, my great grandmother, was a weaver,
Mm-hmm.
and because they wanted her to go out in the field to work, and she refused to,
Mm-hmm.
so they sold her, and she still refused to go out. So this master she had then had to go back and get her, see, and bring her back to his farm, see. So she still stuck to the weaving,
Right.
which was her profession.
Right. She was early militant, in other words.
And my grandfather and brother and a sister. Now the sister was sold. We never knew what happened to her, see.
Uh-huh.
But the other brother, my grandfather, left in 1870
Uh-huh.
and went to Arkansas, about
Right.
14 miles off from Pine Bluff.
Mm-hmm.
And neither one could read nor write. And I used to hear my grandfather talk about his brother, and but at that time was a separation of the two families between 1870, and his youngest son in Arkansas wrote to the Chamber of Commerce in Kenbridge, Virginia, which is the nearest town to my home.
Mm-hmm.
And so they gave the letter and asked him about the Craigheads.
Right.
And then he gave the letter to my mother's youngest brother.
Mm-hmm.
And so they finally start corresponding. And we, since 1965, which was 95 years separation, and we've been finally we've been visiting backward and forward each other for the last, since then. He was up here to a family reunion about 4 years ago.
Good. What was your grandfather's occupation?
He was a farmer.
He's a farmer.
Yeah.
Did you say that he also did blacksmith work?
Well, my great-grandfather he bought himself,
Uh-huh.
and he was a blacksmith.
I see.
And it's on record there now that he bought 150 acres of land in 1870.
Uh-huh.
And the white people still wonder now, when you go there, it's on record.
Right.
How did he get money to buy land then? That's a mystery.
So he was what they would call a freeman.
That's right, yeah, he was a free man.
I see.
Mhm.
Well, after leaving Virginia, you came to where?
Came to Washington.
Uh-huh. And
I was there 4 years.
4 years, and what'd you do in Washington?
I went to school, Dunbar High School in Washington.
So that was your teenage years.
That's
you
right.
spent in Washington.
Yeah.
And then you came into Montclair. You
Yeah.
came into Montclair when?
1928.
1928.
Mhm.
Now, what was Montclair like then?
Well, it was much more reserved town. I mean, I would say 90% of the black in Montclair then were doing domestic work,
Right.
and I did domestic work for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1934, the people that I worked, they broke up housekeeping, and so I went out with took $100 of the money that I built the house, my first house, 1931 at number 9 Gray Street.
Uh-huh.
And I had a second mortgage there, so I took $100 of the second mortgage and bought me I bought me a truck,
Uh-huh.
and started doing landscaping.
Right.
And
Now-
there for 11 years I did that.
Now, I found that a lot of black people in Montclair are from Virginia.
Yeah.
Also, where did they settle mostly? I noticed you said Gray Street now. That would be out Grove Street way.
Well, that was one street out there that the blacks had.
Mm-hmm.
By was some land was given to one family, I understand, out there by a white. It was farmland out there.
I see.
They gave him a piece of land out there, see, so he built a house on it.
Uh-huh.
So because he built the house on it, then that automatically become a Negro neighborhood. See?
I see. I
Mhm.
see.
So that's how Gray Street got started, from what I
Well,
understand.
where were most of the black people in Montclair at that time?
Mission Street, New Street,
Mm-hmm.
Bloomfield Avenue, and they would begin to go out at Elmwood Avenue and Lexington.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, there was a mixed neighborhood around here. Then.
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
What were the streets like?
Well-
1928. Were they paved and?
Yeah, well,
I
I mean, they didn't have most of the streets in those neighborhoods. As I remember, Lexington Avenue didn't have curbing; they had sidewalks,
right.
but most were flagstone-like sidewalks, you know. And well, it was comfortable, a real country town, you know. They had the lamp, the oil lights, you know, in the streets, you know, and they didn't. One thing about it was you were free to walk, and you didn't bother about locking houses. And
Right. Now, I know surrounding Montclair, Orange and Patterson were industrial towns at
Yeah.
the time, right? Now, where did most of the people? You said people in Montclair did domestic work.
well, I
Where
would
did
say
they work
90%
Where-
did domestic work.
I mean, where did they work at? In Montclair?
Well, yes.
Uptown.
Yeah,
like?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, for the people uptown.
Because everybody on Upper Mountain Avenue, South Mountain Avenue, and Midland Avenue, and North Mountain, and all those streets, I mean, all in Upper Montclair, and even Lower Montclair, even on Irving Street,
Right.
and Lincoln Street,
I see.
and Orange Road.
Uh-huh.
They had help when
I
they
see.
here. Where I live at 22 High Street, the Carriage. I mean, it was a 19-room house there. They had help there. See?
I see.
Yeah.
What was the mode of transportation at the time? What was that black people used?
Well, they used buses and the trolley cars. They had a trolley car that came from out Orange Road here into from the Oranges into Montclair. Then they yeah.
It came up
Up
on
Orange
Montclair
Road, yeah.
to Bloomfield Avenue.
Yeah, you know,
Trolley
out
car.
there, you know, out Valley Road. Yeah.
What about entertainment? What did black people do
Well,
for entertainment?
really, they, you know, it was a funny thing about Montclair, you know, we had peculiar way, you know, the blacks, if they worked for, if they had working for the white people, if they had 3 in family, they felt that, I mean, in help,
Yeah.
they felt they didn't, they were above those that, I mean, maybe 1 and 2, you know,
I
and more,
see.
the bigger the number of, highest number of people that they had
Yeah,
working
right.
for them, they felt as though that they were above those that were working
Had
here.
1 or
you know,
2.
Yeah, working 1 or 2. You know, they had
Uh-huh.
that was the kind of society.
Yeah, they had their own levels of society.
Yeah, and this
Uh-huh.
one, how many of them didn't help where you work? See?
Yeah, you got 5 people in help, you better than the
That's right,
people that
that's
got 3
right,
people.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And what kind of entertainment did you do? Like, what
Well-
was it? I know most domestics, I guess it carried through where they had a Thursday off.
Yeah, well, Thursday off and Sunday afternoon you had
Uh-huh.
off, and of course there people were very church-minded. You know,
Mhm.
we went to church. They had 2 services a day. You had
Uh-huh.
and the young people at the BYPU. You know, they were
Right.
all belonged to that. You know,
Mhm.
and morning service, and you had evening service for the people that that worked during the day. See.
So most of the activities, the social activities, revolved around the church.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How many churches were there in Montclair? Then black churches.
Oh, St. Paul, Union Baptist, and the Methodist Church. Oh, I imagine it's about
the same as now.
Yeah, just about the same as now. Maybe there's a few more now than then.
How about well, you've been in business, what, 41 years?
41 years, yeah.
Now, how many people were in business, black people were in business at the time that you started, or?
Well, Bill Thomas.
What kind of business did he have?
Well, it's real estate business.
Real estate business?
And Mr. Adams, and Harrison Tate. They were about the three.
Were they all in real estate?
Yeah. But they were more or less part-time, like, right?
Were there any other kind of black businesses around there?
Well, Mr. Cook, started the rug business back in, now probably 26, about in the 30s, I imagine, the rug business in Bloomfield.
I see.
And other than just the regular routine of probably maybe a restaurant or dry cleaning or maybe a garage here and there was available. The type of
how was the school system then?
Well, you take the Italians, the blacks, and the poor Irish. They all went to Glenfield School.
I see. And Glenfield, what kind of school then was it?
Well, it was a school that they more or less babysitters, and
they treated it the same way.
Yeah, and they had. I've heard of people, parents, griping about the teacher telling them that they didn't want. There was no need of their children taking algebra because they didn't need algebra and going to someone's kitchen, you see, and that kind of a thing. See.
Now, I've heard, that Glenfield Park was a great social. They had great social activities there on Sundays.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
What were they like?
Well, I mean, this was like picnics and stuff, especially in the summertime, and they played. As I remember, they played cricket there. The West Indian people. They played cricket, and then other type of games there, like baseball and softball and whatnot. See.
What was this part of Montclair like, down around Orange Road?
Well, it was.
Was that all farmland too?
No. When I came here, this was all white in the South End. But I remember this was called the White Elephant here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why'd they call
it?
That?
I mean, this part of Montclair, the South End of Montclair.
The White Elephant.
Yeah, because there was no business could survive hardly here because of the traffic conditions here. You see that. They coming out of Washington Avenue in the evening at 4 o'clock or around 3:30, you'd have to have a policeman here and one that called Cellar Avenue. I mean, to direct the traffic, and then naturally there was no parking in here, so we only have one block of business here.
I see.
So nobody could park here at that time, so the business people could have gone home, so far as that concerned.
Well, these stores, when did stores start being put here?
Well, I bought here in 1948, and you had a lot of vacant stores here then. A lot of vacant stores here. So I rented to a shoemaker, and I rented to a dress shop, and then I rented what is the other? I mean, the Blue Ribbon Cleaners here.
Yeah. Right. Now, what was Bloomfield Avenue like? Movies and. Was there movies there?
Yeah, movies were there, but you were segregated.
Right.
I found no segregation here in Montclair in 1928, and I found it in my home in Virginia.
I see.
But in Virginia, if you were somebody, I mean, you were somebody regardless of your color. See.
I see.
And but here, I found when you left Elm Street, going uptown, you were segregated from Elm and Bloomfield Avenue.
Did you do much traveling in the vicinity? I mean, like now, nothing going to Newark or going to East Orange or something like that. Was that a trip that wasn't made too often? Say like going to a Newark or East Orange, or did you do it often?
Well, we went there, but I mean, we had by Charlie or by bus. I mean, we had no other means of transportation. Maybe a person here and there had an automobile, but
Right.
that was rare.
I know. In talking to Miss Tate, she was telling me that a lot of shopping was done in Newark.
Oh yes,
Is that
that's
true?
well, yeah. But Montclair, you didn't have too many stores here, because they figured. I mean, in the Bambergers in Newark. I mean, there was a place that you could get bargains.
Right.
You had no real bargain stores in Montclair. Such old Lewinsky on Bloomfield Avenue. Naturally, he sold more or less work things and not
Right.
too much of dress things for women's here.
How about food? How about food shopping? Was it done?
Well, you had some people here that some real doozies here, especially in the lower part. I mean, all white merchants, you know,
Right.
and I've seen them really take the eyeballs out of the black people, you know, and give them a little credit, you know, and food is very inferior. And I've known the time that the health department would come in and make them take the chickens out the box, and they would take as soon as they left it, bring them back and put them in there and sell them. See, because very inferior things, and which was very unfair.
Was there much? I know black people have always been resourceful. Did they? I know said that there was farmland when you first came here on Grand Gray Street. Did they do much backyard farming? I remember one time it's called victory farming.
Well, yes. During the war, you know, they were allowed to raise chickens and that kind of stuff. You know, and everybody had the chicken coop in the backyard, and they had planted whatever vegetables and stuff that they could raise most of their own food themselves back during the beginning of World War II.
Right.
And even before then.
But what kind of place was Montclair during World War II? How did it treat its black citizens as far as serving in the war?
Well, the same thing as all. You know, that we had an integrated army then,
Right.
and so naturally they had to go through the same thing. And I know that with the Unedited owning a tavern there on the corner of Bloomfield Avenue and Gates Avenue.
Right.
I mean, they didn't permit the Negroes in there then, and Strand's over on Walnut Street didn't allow blacks there then.
Were most of your white public places, I imagine at that time, were like that? They didn't allow blacks in there.
Yeah.
And you started to tell me about the movies. Was going to the movies an occasion? I mean, you tell me that they were segregated.
Oh yes.
But wasn't a big occasion to go to the movies?
Well, I mean, we went because, I mean, there was no other place to go. I mean, we wanted to see the movie, and that was the only thing. But I think Reverend Love and Mrs. Allen played a big part in this breaking up this segregated movie scene.
I see.
Yeah.
Was that John Love's father? Right?
That's right. No, his grandfather.
Grandfather?
Yeah, and Hunter Hayes, his mother.
Now, see, what I'm trying to find out is what were the big social things that happened during the year? I know that at some time in the black community there are certain events that happen, and I was wondering what was the big social events?
I remember that I bought this for an affair. It was a dance given by one of the sororities, and I was invited. And I bought a tuxedo. Then I think it was about in the mid-30s, and you show you just how over it. And I think the mall just about ate it up before I got a chance to wear it. Before I got a chance to wear it again.
So they now what did they have, like a cotillion or type thing, or?
Well, I mean, they would have the dances, and but they didn't outdoor picnics and such as that. Weren't as popular as they are now.
Right. Now, did many of the children go away to school at that time? I noticed that there's a lot of our older citizens are highly educated, so that means that they were sending them to.
Yeah, well,
Howard.
yes, they sent their children to school, and here, and of course they claim now that Montclair is have the more highly educated Negroes here than any other town in New Jersey.
But was this an outgrowth of you know, being domestics and being around
Around the people, yeah.
who-
But that's it. People, we, you could always tell
Mhm.
when you go to a party with people that had done domestic work. I mean, they were
Mhm.
really up on it, so far as
Right.
how to serve a party, how to
Mhm.
cook, and how to serve a party.
Mhm.
See, because I had that training from the people whom they work for.
Do
See.
you find that these are the people who usually took a leadership role in town?
Well, it seems like they are.
Uh-huh.
They are the people.
But what about NAACP at that time? Was it very
Well,
active?
well,
or-
it wasn't too active, but it was active and played a major role in these things things that happening here. But you know, Jersey is noted for a state almost equal to Mississippi.
Right, right.
And
right.
I find that it's not too far from it now.
When did black people start to moving into the South End area? Was that after Irving and Street around that way? After
That in
Lexington?
1935, 4 and 5, they began to
Moved down.
move in there, see, and on
Mhm.
Orange Road and South End here, see.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in, my first house I sold was at number 8, Willamette Avenue.
Right, right.
That was 1939, 38, I think it was,
Mhm.
the first house.
Mm-hmm. As you've seen things change in Montclair, do you feel that things have changed for the better, for the worse, or what is your assessment of Montclair?
Well, Montclair
When you
hasn't
first came
changed.
here.
Montclair hasn't changed as fast as it should have changed.
Uh-huh.
They got the idea that they can, with that same old prestige idea that these people had back years ago that had money,
Mm-hmm.
they could employ help.
Mm-hmm.
But the people today are people that what we call middle class people. They're making a lot of money, but you know, with the inflation and whatnot now, it's far from being as the type of town that Montclair was before. And I think it's we're creating a lot of problems here. See, because the real estate business is not the only business I was in. You know,
What else did you do?
I was in the as I told you in the beginning, 19 and 30th floor. You know, I was laid off the job, so I went in the landscape gardening. See, I
Right.
did that until 1942,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing it very successful, very
see.
successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I was employing at that time 5 and 6 men.
Really?
Yeah. And so I the war came along, and I couldn't get gas for my truck, so I had to give that up, and I went into the defense plant.
What kind of truck did you have?
I had a Ford, first after the Chevy station wagon I had broke down, I bought a Ford pickup.
Uh-huh.
And I was really in big business then, but
Yeah.
it was a pickup
Pickup
truck.
truck,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. And I had really a happy and a pleasant business. I had fellows, you know, that worked for me. You know, I paid them rain or shine, and
Right.
when it rained, they could rest. But when the sun came out, we had to make up for the difference. And I had as many as 60 and 65 lawns that I took care of. See,
Right.
and so
60
after the
or
war,
65?
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
A week?
every week, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, then after I came out of the plant during the war, I went into the dairy business,
Uh-huh.
1945.
Yeah.
Started out with one truck, and
Yeah.
then we went at the store on Gates Avenue, and we had
Uh-huh.
frozen foods and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Then we started with one truck, and there was such a demand, they pulled us out for 4 trucks. We had
You
4
did
trucks.
home
House
delivery.
to house delivery. See.
Uh-huh.
We employed 4 people then,
Right.
and then I built the place in the back. We branched out and built the place in the back here in 1955, and that's when we started to manufacturing ice cream,
Right.
and they had the lunchroom. Now we started the chicken in the basket there, see,
Right.
and not
right.
the. So I think I could be a good partner with Colonel Sanders.
Well, it seems to me, Mr. Rudd, you've enjoyed your stay in Montclair.
Well,
Seems to
really,
me.
I've enjoyed my work. If I didn't, I just wouldn't do it. So. And that's it. I've been in this business, I mean, and I have never worked a day on the side to supplement my income. I had some dark days. I didn't know some days where I was going to get my next loaf of bread from, but I stuck with it. So as I said, it paid off. It paid off.
Well,
I have a resume that, but I mean, I can say that I'm not against education.
right.
But education isn't everything.
Thing, right.
I think that a man can, if he makes up his mind to do a job, see, he can do it. And I'd rather have a man, an ambitious man, without an education, than a lazy man with an education.
I understand.
I have something to work with.
Well, I think that's good advice, very good advice for our young people, and it's been a pleasure, believe me, to be able to sit down and talk to Mr. John Rudd, who's been a resident of Montclair for 48 years. I think he's given us a lot of background, and I hope that we can find 3 or 4 young people that could maybe make 3 or 4 John Rudds. Thank you very much, Mr. Rudd.
Okay.